Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vienna Live with Simeon Moore and other third parties. If you prefer not to be recorded and distributed live stream, you can go to the LinkedIn Live video feed, the link to which I've just placed in the chat room. Tonight, our featured guests are Erin Vaughn, professor of music at Kent State University Stark campus, and Pablo Castillo Gomez, recently awarded a Bachelor of Science in Music Technology from Kent State University. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Erin, so tell us a little bit about where you come from, how your musical tastes were formed, and why you decided to become a professional musician.
Absolutely. I started out, having early formative experiences. I had a cousin who played guitar, and I just remember when we would go over and visit and she would, get it out. It was just, there was something somewhat magical about it. Yeah, I thought guitars were incredibly cool from the time I was very young, and started playing when I was a teenager. And it was all, pretty innocent at first, mostly self-taught. And then I got more serious, started taking lessons. And then I really, got caught by the music bug and started playing in bands, started writing. And eventually, and I was, working professionally. I was teaching guitar probably before I should have been. And, just teaching at music stores and things like that, things after school. But then I really got to a point when I was in my, kind of early 20s where I was like, this is, more than just a hobby. I'm very passionate about this. And so I went and did an undergrad in jazz performance and did a master's in music theory. And just in the area here in Northeast Ohio, I've worked as a freelance player in a variety of settings, a lot of musicals, done a lot of studio work for local artists, playing both guitar and bass. Years ago, I was on a touring production of the musical Grease, and really kind of all points in between. So that's, and that's what I'm thankfully still doing at this point.
Okay, so I'm going to begin our get into our first topic, which is what is 20th century music education. So pay attention here, 20th century, that's 1900 to the year 2000. Erin, the music program at Kent State University Stark campus makes its pitch to prospective music students as follows, quote, gain the skills needed to innovate and create cutting-edge music compositions with the Music Technology Bachelor of Science program. Enroll now and become a music tech pioneer, end quote. Erin, tell us about the music programs you enrolled in before becoming part of Kent State University Stark. What was the focus of those programs? What did they value most? And what tools did they give you to succeed in the professional world?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, my training was very much more of a conservatory mindset. When I was coming up, you either went to school to study classical or jazz, and that was pretty much it. The idea of popular music was still kind of foreign and looked down upon in the world of music education. And so, all of the courses that you would expect in a typical situation like that, harmony theory, ear training, lots of music analysis and things like that. Because my undergrad was in jazz, there was also jazz theory and jazz arranging, and there were a lot of performance requirements as well. You were taking private lessons and things like that. And so the difference now, I think anybody that is teaching in music education, a lot has happened since we were in college, and a lot has happened professionally in the music world, capital M, capital W, just in terms of the industry that we all grew up with, and all of the things that we were told, oh, here's what you got to do to make it. That's all kind of out of the window now with streaming and all of the gatekeeping changing so significantly. And so, as music educators, our job is to stay current. Has changed, how significantly those changes have impacted what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. And the thing that really helps to guide me is that I remind myself every semester, every week, and throughout the day that I'm not trying to prepare my students for my future. I'm trying to prepare them for their future, which is going to look fairly different than what mine has been, and what it could potentially be. So it's just a whole different approach. Music students these days, not only do they have to be proficient at whatever discipline they've chosen, whether it's performance or technology or whatever, well, they also have to maintain their own social media presence. If they're working professionally, they're booking their own gigs. If they are an artist, they're recording their own stuff, they're putting it out. So you have to wear all of those hats at the very beginning when you're first, starting out being a full-time musician.
And just to sum up this, could you explain what would you be prepared to do if you had just come out of the conservatory, the old conservatory method you were talking about? What are the tools you have to succeed in that case?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, if any of that came across negatively on the old conservatory method, certainly not. Basically, what I felt like I had to do with my generation is take all of that information that we were given in terms of harmony analysis, and then take it and go, okay, how does this apply to things that have been recorded? Like, let's say from, if we go from first wave early rock and roll. So how does all of the rules of harmony and analysis and things like that apply to music from 1955 and beyond? And one of the great things in music education, even at the conservatory levels, is that people have realized, oh, popular music isn't just a fad. This is a real, style. And to even say that popular music is a style, there are so many, different styles built into that. Are you talking about hip hop? Are you talking about country? Are you talking about metal? And then, of course, all of the different subdivisions you can kind of break down into that. So taking that core foundation of music education and applying it to all of the music that has been, popular and is being written, performed, whatever now, that's really what it gave me. It gave me that core skill set and ear training and knowledge of those things to be able to from a musical standpoint explain, as a teacher, letting people know what it is that they're hearing and what are the components, what goes into it. That's what it gave me.
Okay, let's listen now to Zach Simon's Ghost on Mahoning. This was produced by our next guest, Pablo Castillo Gomez.
Time spent well in the moment. I turn around and stare at the roads, empty streets behind me, where nothing is left but your ghost. I wake up in the car, just keep driving. The memories I hold on to the most. Ecstasy, the drug you left with me, that made me never want to be alone. And I don't know where I'm going as we hum to the radio, hanging on to our moments, expecting to end up alone when I'm not around anymore.
Pablo, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Pablo, so tell us a little bit about where you come from, how your musical tastes were formed, and why you decided to become a professional musician.
Yeah, I grew up in Mexico City. I was born and raised there. My parents were not musical at all. They loved music in their own way. So I grew up with records from Journey, Meatloaf, Phil Collins. And then as I started to become older and older, I started to develop my own music taste from friends, guitar teachers, drum teachers. Um, and it got to a point where I was really into electronic music, and I decided that I wanted to learn how to DJ. And after, a couple months spent learning how to DJ and feeling like I was a good enough DJ, I realized there has to be so much more to this than just the act of performing as a DJ. And so I started to do research about music production and audio engineering, and I found that position of uh, being the medium between an artist and their finalized vision to be like the most noble profession, I would say. And I just saw myself doing that, and the first time that I worked with an artist and helped them through ideas and how to make them a reality, I felt like that was where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. So yeah, I enrolled in Kent State and got my education there. Yeah.
Okay. So this brings us to our next topic. What is a 21st century musician? In other words, a music education, excuse me. In other words, what is the music education of our time? Pablo, the music program at the Juilliard School makes its pitch as follows, quote, "The study of music is a time-honored tradition of art passed from seasoned artist to student. At Juilliard, you will learn to interpret music of any period, to nurture it, refine it, give it life, and make it your own," end quote. Please tell us why you applied to study at Kent State University Stark and what you ended up taking away from the program.
I think in the 21st century, what music education means is kind of bridging the gap between that tradition that we want to honor and understand and take in, and the modern, innovative way that the music industry is moving in, uh, trying to merge modern and traditional is, I think, the goal of the music industry at this point in time, which brings me to why I enrolled in Kent State. I feel like they had a perfect balance between musical training and technical training. And in other programs that I researched, uh, they had either one or the other. I felt like I could have gotten a good education as a musician in other schools, and I could have gotten a very good education as a technician, as an engineer. But it was a Kent State that I found the mix of both, and I felt like it just made sense if you're working with musicians to be a musician yourself. And one of the greatest takeaways that I've gotten from the program is being able to approach music styles that I'm not familiar with in a musical way, especially when working with artists, trying to dissect and break down what makes the style what it is and how to reach that goal and that vision as a producer, uh, in communicating it in a way that the artist can understand and feel uh, fulfilled with. And that's how I feel that my role in the music industry will be.
Okay, let's have a look now as we move into the um, concluding part of our interview about what this program is about. Here is Kent State University Stark Music Technology Program in their own words. So, Erin, this brings us to the conclusion of the question, which is art and new technologies are the music education of the 21st century. So let's get an overview of it. Erin, the music program at Kent State University, Stark declares that, quote, the development of music technology has had an enormous impact on the music industry. There are many career opportunities for talented musicians in music technology. Skilled musicians can apply formal training to recording careers, studio performance, arranging, or producing and live performances. Opportunities are also available in non-traditional contemporary popular music venues, the movie industry, television, multimedia events, and music for advertising, as well as traditional performing arts venues. The growth of music technology has made knowledge and experience in this area a necessity for all students preparing for a career in any area of the music industry. To compete effectively in the contemporary music world, one must possess a strong traditional music background, plus the technical expertise required to make the most of a rapidly changing and developing technology. End quote. Erin, please take us inside the three parts of the music program at Kent State University, Stark.
Absolutely. Well, you had talked about the, kind of traditional piece, the tools that make up music, scales, chords, rhythmic information, instrumentation, those types of things. Those are constants. And regardless of whether you're talking about something in the Western tradition, let's say of, a Beethoven symphony, or if we're talking about something more modern that was just released, some bedroom pop artist that, they put out, self-released last week. The basic tools that we're working with, those have been pretty static now for hundreds of years. But how those tools are being used, that is the difference from a stylistic standpoint, a compositional standpoint, that we want the students to understand, is that chords are chords, scales are scales, time signatures are time signatures. How were those things employed, let's say in the Baroque period versus how they were any period that followed. And so that strong musical foundation is absolutely fundamental. Pablo said moments ago, if you're going to be working with musicians, probably not a bad idea to be a musician yourself. And we wholeheartedly agree with that. So there's that component. And then there is the technical component. There was a time not so long ago when we're talking about the kind of golden era of recording in music where you needed people, you needed engineers to be able to run the machines. Well, nowadays that's not necessary anymore. Musicians, one of the challenges to being a musician in this era is the fact that it's kind of assumed that you know what you're doing in the technological realm, and with regard to working in any number of DAWs. I noticed one of the graphics that went by is, kind of the goal is to be able to get our students to where they can walk into really any situation and produce quality work, whether it's recording somebody in a studio environment like you're sharing on the screen, or if somebody needs a video game scored, or there needs to be a certain amount of music to go with some, a chunk of video. Where you're working entirely in the box. We're trying to train our students for all of those situations. We've got students that are working in the live sound realm as well. And in addition, we'll send them out with a background and some ability to do the live sound portion. But I've talked to students, I've run into them actually out on gigs where they're also learning video projection, and they're also, learning lighting as well. So, we get them in the door with having a skill set in audio, but then they're also picking up these other skill sets on the job as well.
So Erin, to summarize what you're saying, tell me if I'm wrong or not. When you were going to school, this specialization in the instrument was very, very important. Other people specialize in different things. You're saying today, contrary to what is the conservative thought, that you need to specialize, you're saying you need to have a very, very broad education so you can do everything yourself.
Precisely. I joke very often, and it's only a little bit of a joke. Being a full-time musician often is having a bunch of part-time jobs. And being able to do a variety of things just makes you that much more employable and that much more necessary in a studio environment, in a band. I was mentioning back in a different time, there were different people to do different things, and now everything is much more self-contained. There's so much more of an expectation on young creatives that, and I would even go so far as to say it's not just in music. If you were to speak to somebody in visual arts too, the requirement on them to kind of manage what they're doing career-wise, it's so much more incumbent upon them back when, or compared to, you just make the art and then somebody else is going to, promote it and get it out and do those types of things. Yeah, the whole DIY mentality is very pervasive in music. And kind of piggybacking on that, there was a time was talking about kind of the golden age of recording where, you went to a big corporate facility, record company put up all kinds of money, and you were pretty much at the mercy of their marketing, promotion, things like that. How many records have been put out, let's say in the last 5 or 10 years, that did very, very well where it was recorded in somebody's bedroom? The access is no longer restricted like it was. If you've got a laptop, you've got an interface and, a decent mic and creativity, you can create some pretty impressive things. And so, yeah, absolutely, that is an underpinning of our program, is that we are trying to, yes, we want good musicians, absolutely, because that's the foundation of it. So you are going to learn the basics of music. You are going to be competent on a primary instrument of some sort. You're going to, even if you are not a piano player, you're going to get some basic piano skills. And then on top of that, you are also going to be dealing with the creative side, technically speaking. The music production track, there are all kinds of projects built into that to where you're going to be working inside the box and creating different sound environments for different types of projects. AR, the exact same thing. I think when people think of audio recording, they think of just kind of a rock band, but you're going to be doing more than just that. It's not just, two guitars, bass drums, and a couple of vocals that are going to be coming into your space. What happens if you have to record a string quartet? What happens if you have to do a brass choir? Those are all different kinds of things. And so throughout our program, we're really trying as much as we can inside of 4.5, 5 years to get people familiar with a lot of the types of work that they're going to run into out in the wild.
Wow. So this brings us to our final segment, which is the results portion. Erin and Pablo, the music program at Kent State University Stark Program Learning Outcomes Statement details that, quote, graduates of this program will be able to, one, function as competent and versatile professional studio musicians who perform in diverse commercial music venues, two, compose and arrange music, three, create appropriate sound for visual and media, four, create music productions of professional quality, five, produce professional audio recordings, both live and in studio from start to finish. Wow, that so Erin and Pablo, first with starting with you, Pablo, please. What have the results of this music program been?
Well, I think it's allowed me to, first of all, as an artist, to be able to express myself a lot better and in the highest quality of recording possible. And also, it's allowed me to develop a career in multiple different parts of the music industry. Currently, I'm working as a guitar tech at a music store. I've done work as a live sound engineer, as a stagehand, and most importantly, it's allowed me to connect with artists and their music in a way that uh, yields the best results in terms of the product, which is the music that we're putting out there. And it's allowed me to be confident enough to work with any artist in their productions and to develop my own style of music as well. So,
Wow. Well, most classical musicians I know from the conservatory tradition, they might say that after being a doctorate, earning their doctorate after 10 years of study, you just graduated with your bachelor. You seem to have everything in place already. Erin, what about you? What have you heard from other colleagues in the industry about your students?
Absolutely. One of the things that we are always very happy to hear is that when we hear back from the folks that have brought in our students for internships, is that these aren't students that are just button jockeys and know their way around the technical side of things. These are fully formed musicians that if somebody's slightly out of tune on a track, they'll say to the bass player, the guitar player, hey, you might want to double check that tuning. They are making suggestions in sessions that are improving the quality of the music. The other thing that's been a net positive with the program is that we are turning functional contributing members of the musical society into the world. Our graduates are working in various aspects of live sound. Many of them are doing their own sessions for their own projects. They're doing sessions for other musicians that they know as well. I would say, I don't have a hard number on this, but the majority of our students are involved in performing in some capacity. Some are doing cover stuff, some are doing original things. It really just kind of depends. So they're actually out there, getting their hands dirty from the performance end of things and on the creative side. So the program has very tangibly taken that approach of traditional Western music education and coupled that with the boom in technology that's happened in roughly the last 20-ish years, and really fused those things together to try and give young musicians the skills that they are going to need to be competitive, to be creative, and to be employable.
Last thoughts. Let's continue with you, Erin. What do you wish all those who want to quote unquote learn music?
Mm. Realizing that there's not a direct line that's the same for everyone, depending upon what you're planning on doing. And really just, I would encourage you from an educational standpoint, find the things that you are absolutely the most passionate about and really dig in there. but also keeping in mind too that from a practical, and I keep saying employability, which I know sounds incredibly non-musical and or non-rock and roll, but the goal to go to school is to get a skill set so you are employable. You do want at the end of the day for these skills to return on the investment. And so you want to make sure that while you have your things that you are focused on, very passionate about, the things that really probably drew you to a program like ours or whatever facet of learning you're doing, remember that there are, other avenues. So if you are a hip hop person looking into, what's kind of on singer-songwriter road, if you're on singer-songwriter road, what's on metal road, what are those things that define those styles, and learning as much as you can about some things maybe that are on the periphery and outside of your own tastes and preferences. We live in a time that's there's more information available to us than ever through the internet and things like that. So there's a lot of self-learning that you can do. And if you are a person that enjoys and or requires structure, looking into quality university programs will absolutely, help keep you accountable and keep you focused and help keep you on track as well.
Pablo, final thoughts. What do you wish all those who want to quote unquote learn music?
Yeah, I hope that you find a position where you can still create for your own sake, because I know that a lot of times people get to a point where they're just creating to pay bills and creating for everyone else. But as long as you keep yourself healthy and happy and okay enough to make art because that's what you were born to do, I think that's the goal, and it's hard work. And at the end of the day, I look back on that hard work and I feel proud of myself for putting in that work. But what's important is that art is always going to be there for you, and to allow yourself to fall back on art whenever you need to.
Okay, let's see how we can stay in touch with Erin and Pablo. Here we have the Kent State Music Technology Program. It's kent.edu/stark/music technology. I will put this in the chat room. And Erin, people can reach out to you if they have any questions. Is that right?
Absolutely. My email is evaughn1@kent.edu. As you're scrolling down there, yep, there I am right there. So they can absolutely direct any questions they might have. Potential students, parents of students, if anybody has any questions, be more than happy to connect with you and talk to you further.
Okay, so feel free, everybody, to reach out to Erin with any of your questions or comments. Again, the email is evaughn1@kent.edu, and the website is kent.edu/stark/music. Thank you so very much to Professor Erin Vaughn and to Pablo Castillo Gomez.
It was our pleasure, Simeon. Thanks so much for having us and
Thank you
for
for
giving
having
us
us.
an opportunity to talk about the program.
So I'd just like to bring everybody quickly here to simeonmoro.com, where you can sign up for the Vienna Live Friday greeting, which comes out every Friday and makes people very happy on Fridays when they get it. And otherwise, all the information about upcoming shows can be found at www.simeonmoro.com. Once again, thank you so very much to Professor Erin Vaughn. Thank you to Pablo Castillo Gomez. Thanks to Victoria and Frederick Mulligan and Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet for their support of this show. Thanks to my cousin Mike, a marketer at Layer App. If you're an architect or an engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. Thanks also to Mary Schlesinger for the lovely Viennese library scene behind me. Thanks most of all to you, our participants who make it all worthwhile. From New London, New Hampshire, and Canton, Ohio, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Take care, everybody.